Right, for this video, we're going to learn how to simplify rational expressions. Rational expressions means involve fractions. So the numerator will be a number or an algebraic terms, and the denominator would be a number or a multiple algebraic terms. So dealing with fractions, we will treat them as numbers. Same way, what do you do when you add and subtract fractions if you have numbers? So for example, just revise a little bit. So if you have 3/2 plus 2/5, when you are adding fractions, we make sure that the common denominator, so the common denominator here is 10, and then you will cross multiply 3 times 5 plus 4, and that's give me 19/10, and then you look at the answer if you can simplify it or not. So that's when you add and subtract fractions. When you multiply and divide fractions, you don't really need to do common denominators. So 3/2 times 2/5, that's give me 6/10, and you can see that you can simplify. You can actually simplify from here, it's easier, and that gives me, just rewrite it, and that's give me 3/5. When you divide fractions, you rewrite the first one. So you rewrite the same fractions, then you change the division into multiplication, then you flip over the second fraction, so it's become 5/2. Now you multiply. Normally you can't simplify here anything, so you've got 15/4. Okay, so that's how you add, subtract, and divide fractions. Same as numbers, so we're going to deal with them with algebraic terms, but obviously will be harder with algebraic terms because probably your answers will be a bit longer than this, and then you'll have to simplify. Now, simplifying fractions with number wise, you just simplify the numbers, but in algebra slightly different. So you sometimes you will have to factorize the numerator and factorize the denominator, then cancel out the common factors. Sometimes you'll have to use the index rules or the exponents rules that what we've learned in the prior video. Okay, so we'll just do a few questions. So we've got a few examples on simplifying rational expressions. As I said, rational expressions has fractions. So the first one here, you notice I can't add or subtract because they are not like terms. I can't simplify because this considered as a full expression, and this is another full expression. So you can't cancel out the x squared with this x squared. That's wrong. So you will have to factorize. You only can cancel out factors. Okay, so I will start factorizing. So the top one, I've got as we said, when you factorize, you always look for common factor first. So I've got 2 as a common factor. Oh, sorry, that's 4. Now I'll continue factorizing the top one because when I took it as a common factor, you can see what's left over is x squared minus 4, which is the difference between two squares. So I can factorize this even further into 2 brackets. It's a quadratic, so you always have to end up with 2 brackets. Minus 2 and x plus 2. Okay, so if you don't know how I factorize this or you forgot, you please go back, and I think it's video number 2 in this playlist explaining the factorization. Now the denominator is another quadratic, so another 2 brackets I'll open up, and then there is no common factors in here, and it's a straightforward quadratic because the coefficient of x squared is 1. So with the straightforward quadratic, I'll write x in here, and then I will come and look into the constants. So I've got -8. Just gonna do it in here. I'll look for the 2 factors of -8 that adds up to -4, -2, which is -4 and 2. So that's why I'm gonna write -4 and +2 here. I'm just gonna rewrite it in here because this has extra step. So you can see now I have this, and that as a factor. So I've got 3 factors on the numerator, 2 factors on the denominator. Now I can cancel out similar factors or common factors. So the common factors in here, that's 1, that's the other one. So the final answer is 2, open a bracket, x minus 2 over x minus 4. I can't cancel anything out. Now the next questions is adding. So as we said, we're going to treat it as the number. So you need to first find the common denominator. So the common denominator here by multiplying the two denominators. And now I'll do this, multiply that, plus those two multiplied, so 2x squared. Now I will expand. I would not expand the denominator, just because it is already on the factorized form. So there's no use of expanding it and re-factorizing it again. So now I will try to factorize the numerator. Now the numerator, again, it's a quadratic. So maybe it's helpful to write it that way if anyone prefers, you know, because that's normally how we write quadratic. And now I'll start factorizing. So this one here, there is no common factor, so it's a harder quadratic. Okay, so remember the harder quadratic, how you factorize the harder quadratic. I'm going to do it on the top corner here. So I've got 2x squared plus 3x plus 6. So you multiply those two numbers, the coefficient of x squared with the constant. So I got 12. Then you look for them two numbers. If you add them together, right, the two numbers, if you look for two factors, if you add them together, give me positive 3. And there is no factors for 12. If you add them together, give you positive 3. So that means, because all the factors of 12 are, I'm just going to list out the factors to show you. 6, 12, there is 3 and 4. And there is 12 and 1. And none of these, if you add them together, give me 3. So that means this equation cannot be factorized further. So this is my final answer. I don't have to go to any more extra steps. Okay, now the next one here, we've got a fractional expressions and they multiply together. So I would expand or simplify the first terms one. So I've got the first one in here, I've got the brackets in here and another brackets here. I will expand these first and then I'll try to cancel out. So I'll expand this one here. I've got 16a to the power of 6 over b to the power of 3 times 2b squared, and this one give me 4a to the power of 2. Now I can cancel out things. So I've got 4 here, just going to cancel out in a different color. So 4, I've got 1, this is give me 2. And I've got a to the power of 6 divided by a to the power of 2. So those can cancel out. So this one disappear. And this one gives me 4. Because remember, when you divide, you minus power. So I've got 4 in here. And this 2 can cancel out with anything. But this b can cancel out. So I've got b squared here. And this is left is b. You can think of the cancel out this way as well. So this is a squared means 2a's, and this one a to the power of 6 means 6a's. So this 2a's goes with those 2a's, left is a to the power of 4 here, and it's the same here, those 2b's and this is 3b's. So if I cancel out those 2b's together, left is 1b over here. So that's really the further expanding of the cancelling out, but really you're minusing the powers. So I've got 2 times 2 is 4. Oh, sorry, wrong color, 4. And then from here, I've got only a to the power of 4 left over. There is no numbers in here. I've got only b left. So that's your final answer. Now with this one here, I will have to change the division into multiplication first. So I've got 5x squared y over 2 times, and flipping or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And now I can start cancelling out. So I've got this is 10, give me with the 5. So that's 2, that's 1. I don't have anything to cancel out with the y because there's a multiplication, but I can cancel out this x with that x. So I've only one x left because that's one x, that's two x's. Now I can multiply. So 1x times y square is x y square over 2 times 2 is 4. And that's your final answer. Now this one here, again, when you have fraction index, the negative powers, mean you will have to take the reciprocal. Now you don't do 1 over the whole thing. We said before, you only take the reciprocal of the terms has the negative power. So that's why we're gonna rewrite this way. Okay, and now we will have to go through the factorization. So I've got straightforward factorization in here. So I'm not gonna expand the bottom one because it's already factorized. So just the numerator. So this one here is straightforward quadratic. So I've got two brackets again. I've got x because the coefficient of x squared is 1. Now I'll look for the -6. The two factors that adds up to +5s are +6 and -1. Okay, and now you can see there is 1 brackets of -1 here. There is 2 brackets of -1 here. So I can cancel this one out. So I'll end up with x plus 6 over x minus 1. Now for this one here, again minus, so we will have to look for the common denominator. So the common denominator, the common denominator is multiplying the two denominators first, then we will do the cross multiply. You notice that I actually write it, then I expand it afterwards, because it's don't go for the shortcuts yet until you are quite comfortable. Rewrite it this way, then now you expand, so you don't miss out any terms or mixing up the powers. So negative times negative is positive, so positive 8x over. Again, I'm not expanding the numerator. All right, now simplifying. Here I've got 3x and 8x and -4x. So I've got -4x squared here. 8, that's positive 11x. And then plus 3 over x minus 2 and x plus 1. Now you will have to try to factorize the numerator. The numerator is a quadratic, but it's a harder quadratic. So you can use the method of factorization in there, okay, or factorizing quadratic. The first, so the answers you will get is x. So you can use the method, but it's you'll end up with 4. You've got 4x plus 1 and x minus 3. That's if you factorize, and this one is x minus 2 and x plus 1. And you can see there is no common factor, so I can't simplify any further from that because there is no common factors. All right, the last example, again, another factorization we've got in here. So the top one is another harder factorization. So I'm not going to repeat how to factorize the harder quadratic. You can always go to the second equation and the second video in this playlist and have a look. But the answer for the factorization for the first one is 2x minus 1 and x plus 4 over. Now the bottom one is easier because the bottom one you take the 2 as a common factor first, minus 16, I think. Yep. Okay, 16. Sorry. And then you can factorize this further because it's a difference between two squares. Again, I'm not repeating how I'm doing that. And now you can see that is two factors are similar. So the final answer is 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 4. Right. Thank you.